The sun was setting over Arcturus 7th, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The spaceport looked tired and old, just like everything else on this frontier colony. Dust covered the landing pads and half the lights didn't work anymore. This wasn't the kind of place that attracted wealthy traders or fancy ships. This was where people came when they had nowhere else to go. Tamian wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag. He had been working on the same broken engine for 3 days now. The pay wasn't good, but it was honest work. He was 28 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes that had seen too many long shifts. His small workshop sat at the edge of the spaceport, a metal building that rattled when the wind blew too hard. Another day, another broken ship, Tamian muttered to himself. He stretched his back and heard it crack. His muscles ached from bending over engines all day. He looked at the time display on his wrist device. It was past 8 in the evening. Most of the other workers had gone home hours ago. Tamian walked to the small corner of his workshop where he kept his personal things. He pulled out a metal container with his dinner inside: rice, some vegetables, and a bit of meat. It wasn't much, but it was warm and filling. He sat down on an old crate and opened the container. That's when he heard it. A small sound, like something scratching at the door. Tamian looked up. The scratching came again, followed by a weak whimper. He set down his food and walked to the door. When he opened it, he found nothing at first. Then he looked down. A small creature sat on the ground, no bigger than a cat. It had scales that shimmered in the dim light, changing colors from blue to green to silver. 2 small wings were folded against its back, and a long tail wrapped around its thin body. The creature's eyes were large and golden, filled with desperate hunger. Tamian recognized what it was immediately: a dragon hatchling. Dragons were rare these days. Their home planet had been destroyed years ago when their sun exploded. Most of the dragon race had died that day. The few who survived scattered across the galaxy, trying to find new homes, but nobody wanted them. Dragons were big, they ate a lot, and they lived for hundreds of years. Most species saw them as pests or beggars. The hatchling looked up at Tamian. Its ribs showed through its scales. Its wings had holes in the thin membrane. This little dragon was starving. "Please," the hatchling said in a small voice. Dragons could speak most languages once they learned them. "Do you have food? Anything? Even scraps?" Tamian felt his heart break a little. He had seen hungry people before, but something about this small creature touched him deeply. He looked back at his dinner, then at the hatchling. "Wait here," Tamian said softly. He went back inside and grabbed his food container. When he returned, the hatchling's eyes went wide. Tamian sat down on the ground next to the small dragon and opened the container. "Here," he said, offering it. "Eat." The hatchling stared at him like it couldn't believe what was happening. Then it carefully took a small piece of meat with its tiny claws. It ate slowly at first, as if afraid the food would disappear. Then hunger took over, and it ate faster. Tamian watched with a sad smile. "When did you last eat?" "4 days," the hatchling said between bites. "Maybe 5. I lose track." "What's your name?" "Rion," the small dragon said. "My name is Rion." "I'm Tamian. Nice to meet you, Rion." They sat together in silence while Rion finished the food. When the container was empty, the hatchling looked up at Tamian with grateful eyes. "Thank you," Rion said. "Thank you so much. Most people just kick me away or throw things at me." "That's wrong," Tamian said simply. "Nobody should treat anyone like that." Rion's eyes filled with tears. "You're the first person who's been kind to me in months. Since I arrived on this planet, everyone treats me like I'm garbage." Tamian felt anger rise in his chest. Not at Rion, but at a galaxy that could be so cruel to someone so small and helpless. He reached out slowly and gently patted the hatchling's head. Rion leaned into the touch, making a soft sound like a purr. "Where are your parents?" Taemin asked. Rion's expression became even sadder. "Dead. They died when our sun exploded. I was in a ship with other younglings. We were on a field trip to another planet. That's the only reason I survived. But the adults who were with us? They all died trying to save as many dragons as they could. I ended up alone." "I'm sorry," Taemin said. He meant it. "It's not your fault," Rion said. "But thank you for saying that. Most people don't care." The sound of footsteps made them both look up. A woman approached from across the landing pad. She was in her 40s with her hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her uniform marked her as a supervisor. Her name was Hae-won, and she was Taemin's boss. "Taemin!" she called out. "What are you doing?" "Just feeding someone who was hungry," Taemin replied. Hae-won came closer and saw Rion. Her face hardened. "That's a dragon. You shouldn't waste food on those things. They're bad luck. Everyone knows that." "Bad luck?" Taemin stood up, his voice calm but firm. "This is a child who's starving. There's no such thing as bad luck, just people who choose to be cruel." Hae-won's expression shifted between annoyance and something else, maybe shame. She pointed at Rion. "Dragons are trouble. They grow big. They eat a lot. If you feed it, it will keep coming back." "Good," Taemin said. "Then I'll know where to find someone who needs help." Hae-won shook her head. "You're too soft, Taemin. This galaxy will eat you alive if you keep caring about every lost creature you find." "Maybe," Taemin said, "but I'll still be able to look at myself in the mirror." Hae-won stared at him for a long moment. Then she sighed and walked away, muttering something under her breath. Rion looked up at Taemin with wonder. "You stood up for me. Nobody ever stands up for dragons anymore." "Then it's time somebody did," Taemin said. The hatchling's tail wagged slightly like a happy dog. Can I really come back?" "Yes," Taemin said without hesitation. "Come back tomorrow. I'll make sure I have food for you." Rion's eyes sparkled with something that had been missing before. Hope. The little dragon bowed its head. "Thank you, Taemin. Thank you so much. I won't forget this kindness." "Just stay safe, okay?" Taemin said. "And come back tomorrow." Rion spread its small wings and flew off into the darkening sky. The flight was wobbly and weak, but the hatchling managed. Taemin watched until Rion disappeared from sight. He looked at his empty food container and smiled. His stomach rumbled with hunger, but his heart felt full. Sometimes, he thought, being human meant choosing kindness, even when it cost you something. Taemin went back into his workshop. Tomorrow, he would bring extra food. And the day after that, and the day after that. For as long as Rion needed help, Taemin would be there. He didn't know it yet, but this simple act of kindness would change everything. Not just for him and Rion, but for the entire galaxy. But that story would come later. For now, there was just a tired mechanic and a grateful hatchling, and the beginning of an unlikely friendship. 3 weeks passed since Taemin first met Rion. True to his word, the mechanic brought extra food every day, and true to his nature, Rion returned every evening just as the sun began to set. At first, the hatchling would just eat quickly and leave, but as the days went by, Rion started staying longer. They would talk while Taemin worked on engines and ships. The little dragon would perch on a workbench, watching with curious golden eyes as the human fixed complicated machines. "What does that part do?" Rion asked one evening, pointing at a small component in Taemin's hands. "This?" Taemin held it up to the light. "This is a power regulator. It makes sure the engine doesn't get too much energy at once. Without it, the whole system could overload and explode." Rion's eyes widened. "That small thing stops explosions?" "Yes," Taemin said with a smile. Small things can be very important. Never judge something by its size. The hatchling looked down at its own small body. I wish more people thought like you. Tae-min set down his tools and gave Rion his full attention. Tell me about your people, about dragons. I don't know much about them. Rion's scales shimmered, shifting to a darker blue. It was a sign of sadness, Tae-min had learned. We were amazing once. My parents told me stories. Dragons built the first quantum engines. We could travel between stars before most species even had written language. We were explorers, scientists, artists. We loved learning and creating. What happened? Tae-min asked gently. Our son got sick, Rion said quietly. Scientists said it would explode, but they thought we had 100 years to evacuate. We only had 10. There wasn't enough time to save everyone. Billions of dragons died. Our libraries, our art, our history, all gone in an instant. Tae-min felt a lump in his throat. I'm so sorry. The survivors scattered, Rian continued. We had no home, no planet to call ours. We had to beg other species to let us live in their space, but nobody wanted us. They said we ate too much. They said we lived too long and would take resources from their own children. They said we brought bad luck. That's not fair, Tae-min said with conviction. No, Rion agreed. But fairness isn't something the galaxy cares about. Tae-min reached over and gently scratched behind Rion's small horns. The hatchling closed its eyes and made that purring sound again. Well, I care. And you're always welcome here. Over the following days, something beautiful began to happen. Rion didn't just watch Tae-min work anymore. The hatchlings started to help. Dragons, it turned out, had excellent eyesight and small claws that could reach into tight spaces. Rion could spot problems that Tae-min might miss and retrieve dropped tools from inside engine compartments. You're getting good at this, Tae-min said one afternoon, as Rion successfully diagnosed a faulty wire connection. You're a good teacher, Rion replied, scales shifting to a happy gold color. Other workers at the spaceport noticed. Most ignored them, but some made comments, not kind ones. A mechanic named Dong-hyun was the worst. He was a large man with a mean face and a meaner attitude. He worked in the bay next to Tae-min's workshop. Still wasting food on that lizard? Dong-hyun said one day, loud enough for everyone to hear. What's next? Going to adopt it? Give it a little bed. Several other workers laughed. Tae-min kept working, trying to ignore them. Hey, dragon! Dong-hyun called to Rion. When you get bigger, are you going to eat him? That's what your kind does, right? Eat the people stupid enough to trust you? Rion's scales turned dark gray, almost black. The hatchling looked down, trying to make itself smaller. Tae-min stopped working. He put down his tools carefully and walked over to Dong-hyun. The larger man grinned, expecting the quiet mechanic to back down like always. Dong-hyun, Tae-min said calmly, Rion is my friend. If you have a problem with that, you have a problem with me. So say what you need to say to my face, not to a child who's done nothing wrong. The grin faded from Dong-hyun's face. Your friend? It's a dragon. A pest. No, Tae-min said firmly. Rion is a person. A young person who lost everything and everyone. If you can't see that, then you're the one with the problem, not Rion. Dong-hyun's face turned red with anger. You're making a mistake, Tae-min. That thing will bring you nothing but trouble. Then I'll handle the trouble, Tae-min replied. But I won't abandon someone who needs help just because people like you lack compassion. For a moment, it looked like Dong-hyun might throw a punch, but Tae-min stood his ground, and eventually the larger man backed away, muttering curses under his breath. When Tae-min returned to his workshop, he found Rion with tears in those big golden eyes. You shouldn't have done that, the hatchling said. Now they'll treat you badly too. I don't care what they think, Tae-min said. You matter more than their opinions. Rion launched from the workbench and flew directly at Tae-min, wrapping small arms around the human's neck in an awkward hug. "Thank you. Thank you for seeing me as a person." Tae-min hugged back carefully, mindful of the fragile wings. "Always, Rion. Always." That evening, Haiwan stopped by the workshop. She looked troubled. "Tae-min, can we talk?" she asked. "Of course," he replied. Haiwan glanced at Rion, then back at Tae-min. "The other workers are complaining. They say the dragon is bad for business. They say customers won't come if they see it hanging around." "Have any customers actually complained?" Tae-min asked. "Well, no," Haiwan admitted. "But then there's no problem," Tae-min said simply. "Rion helps me with my work. I get more done with the hatchling here than without. If anything, I'm more productive now." Haiwan sighed. She looked tired. "Why are you doing this, Tae-min? Why risk your job, your reputation, for a dragon?" Tae-min thought about it for a moment. "Because it's right. Because Rion deserves kindness just like anyone else. And because I think we humans are supposed to be better than this. We're supposed to help those who need it, not kick them when they're down." Something shifted in Haiwan's expression. She looked at Rion, really looked, maybe for the first time. She saw a thin child with hopeful eyes, not a pest or a burden. "My grandmother used to say something," Haiwan said quietly. "She said you can judge a person by how they treat those who can do nothing for them. I think she would have liked you, Tae-min." She turned to leave, then paused. "Keep doing good work, both of you. And Rion? You're welcome here. Officially." After she left, Rion looked up at Tae-min with wonder. "Did that really just happen?" "Yes," Tae-min said with a smile. "Yes, it did." As the weeks continued, their bond grew stronger. Tae-min taught Rion about engines, about ships, about the machines that made space travel possible. The hatchling learned quickly, absorbing information like a sponge. Dragons had excellent memories, and Rion proved to be exceptionally bright. "My parents were engineers," Rion said one night. "They worked on the great colony ships. I wish I could have learned from them." "They would be proud of you," Tae-min said. "You're carrying on their legacy." Rion's scales shimmered with emotion. "Do you really think so?" "I know so," Tae-min replied. One evening, something unexpected happened. A ship landed at the spaceport, a fancy vessel that clearly didn't belong in this rough part of the galaxy. A well-dressed alien emerged, looking around with obvious distaste. "I need a mechanic," the alien announced. "My ship's navigation system is malfunctioning. Can anyone here handle advanced quantum navigation?" Most of the mechanics shook their heads. Quantum navigation was complicated and required special training. But Rion looked at Tae-min with bright eyes. "We can do it," the hatchling said quietly. "I've been reading about quantum systems. I think I understand how they work." Tae-min looked at his young friend. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Rion said with growing confidence. "I can guide you through it." They approached the alien together. When the alien saw Rion, its face twisted with disgust. "A dragon? Here? Absolutely not. I won't have that creature near my ship." Tae-min felt anger flash through him, but he kept his voice calm. "This dragon knows more about quantum systems than anyone else on this spaceport. If you want your ship fixed, you need us both." The alien looked around at the other mechanics, all of whom shook their heads. Finally, with obvious reluctance, it agreed. Working together, Tae-min and Rion fixed the navigation system in less than 2 hours. The hatchling was right about everything, guiding Tae-min through the complex repairs with perfect accuracy. When they finished, the ship's systems ran better than they had in years. The alien paid them well, though it still wouldn't look at Rion directly. But as the ship lifted off, Taemin heard the alien speak to someone inside the vessel. That dragon actually knew what it was doing. Incredible. Taemin and Rion looked at each other and grinned. It was a small victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. "We make a good team," Taemin said. "The best team," Rion agreed, scales shining with pride and happiness. Neither of them knew that this was just the beginning. Their bond would soon be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. The day started like any other day on Arcturus 7th. The morning sun rose over the dusty spaceport, casting long shadows across the landing pads. Taemin arrived at his workshop early, carrying 2 breakfast containers instead of 1. Rion would arrive soon, and the mechanic always made sure his young friend had plenty to eat. The hatchling was growing. Not quickly, but steadily. Rion's scales looked healthier now, shining with proper colors instead of the dull gray of starvation. The holes in the wings had started to heal. The ribs no longer showed through the scales. Good food and friendship were working miracles. "Good morning," Rion called out, gliding down from the sky. The hatchling's flight was much steadier now, stronger. "What are we working on today?" "Freight hauler," Taemin replied, opening the breakfast containers. "The captain says the engine makes a weird noise. We need to figure out what's wrong." They ate together, talking about the work ahead. This had become their routine. Breakfast, then work, then lunch, then more work, then dinner and conversation, before Rion flew off to sleep in a cave system outside the spaceport. It was a simple life, but it was a good one. Around midday, alarms began to sound. Taemin looked up from the engine he was examining. The alarms were loud and urgent, echoing across the entire spaceport. Red lights flashed on every building. "What's happening?" Rion asked, scales shifting to an alarmed orange color. Other workers emerged from their workshops, looking around in confusion. Haewon ran across the landing pads, her face pale with fear. "Pirates!" she shouted. "3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're heading straight for us." Panic spread through the spaceport like fire. People ran in all directions, not sure whether to hide or flee. The colony had defenses, but they hadn't been tested in years. Arcturus 7th was supposed to be too poor and too remote to attract pirates. Taemin grabbed Rion and pulled the hatchling into the workshop. "Stay here, stay hidden." "What about you?" Rion asked. "I need to help," Taemin said. "Just stay safe, please." He ran outside and joined the other workers gathering near the main control building. Through the atmosphere, they could see 3 dark shapes descending. Pirate ships, ugly and dangerous, covered in weapons. Dong-hyun was there, and for once he wasn't being mean. He looked scared like everyone else. "Where's station security? Where are the defense systems?" A security officer emerged from the control building, and his expression told them everything they needed to know. "The defense grid isn't responding. Something's wrong with the main computer. We can't activate the weapons." "What?" Haewon's voice cracked with fear. "We're defenseless?" "We're trying to fix it," the officer said, but he didn't sound confident. "The system should work, but it's not responding to any commands. It's like the computer is asleep or frozen." The pirate ships landed on the main pad. Hatches opened, and armed figures emerged. There were maybe 20 of them, carrying weapons that looked far too powerful for a simple raid. These weren't petty thieves. These were serious criminals. Their leader stepped forward, a tall alien with dark armor and a cruel smile. "Good afternoon, everyone. We'll keep this simple. You have 1 hour to load all your valuables onto our ships. Anyone who resists will be shot. Anyone who runs will be hunted down. Cooperate, and you'll live. That's the only choice you get." The workers stood frozen. They were mechanics and dock hands, not fighters. They had no weapons, no training. Against 20 armed pirates, they had no chance. Taemin felt helpless rage building in his chest. These criminals were going to take everything, all the money these people had worked so hard to earn, all their personal belongings, everything. He looked back toward his workshop and saw Rion peeking out from behind the door. The hatchling's eyes were wide with fear. Taemin gestured frantically for Rion to hide, but the young dragon didn't move. The pirates began spreading out, forcing people toward their workshops to collect valuables. Taemin saw Haiwan being pushed roughly toward the control building. He saw Dong-hyun hand over a small box that probably contained his life savings. He saw children crying and adults trying not to show their fear. Then Rion did something unexpected. The hatchling flew out from the workshop, heading straight for Taemin. "No!" Taemin shouted, but it was too late. One of the pirates spotted the small dragon. "Hey, what's that?" The pirate leader turned and saw Rion. His eyes lit up with greed. "A dragon? Well, well. Those scales are worth a fortune. Catch it." 3 pirates moved toward Rion with nets and stun weapons. The hatchling dodged and weaved through the air, but there were too many of them. Taemin ran forward without thinking, putting himself between Rion and the pirates. "Leave the dragon alone," he shouted. The pirate leader laughed. "Brave but stupid. Move aside, human, or we'll move you." "No," Taemin said firmly. "You'll have to go through me first." The leader's smile faded. He raised his weapon, pointing it directly at Taemin's chest. "So be it." "Wait!" Rion's voice rang out across the spaceport. The hatchling landed next to Taemin, scales flashing with desperate colors. "Wait, please, don't hurt him." "Then come quietly," the pirate leader said. "We'll sell you to a collector. They pay well for live dragons." Rion looked up at Taemin with tears streaming down its scaled face. "I'm sorry. This is my fault. If I hadn't been here, they wouldn't have—" "Stop," Taemin said gently, putting a hand on the hatchling's head. "This isn't your fault. These people chose to be criminals. That's on them, not you." The pirate leader was getting impatient. "Enough talk. Last chance. Hand over the dragon or die." Rion spread its small wings. "I'll go. Just don't hurt anyone, please." "No," Taemin said. "I won't let them take you." "Taemin, you'll die," Rion said, voice breaking. "Then I'll die protecting my friend," Taemin replied. "That's better than living as someone who stood aside and let evil win." The pirate leader raised his weapon, preparing to fire. Time seemed to slow down. Taemin closed his eyes, ready for the end. But then Rion shouted, "The defense grid! I can feel it!" Everyone stopped and looked at the small dragon. Rion's scales were glowing now, pulsing with strange light. The hatchling's eyes had changed, becoming brighter, almost like they were filled with electricity. "What are you talking about?" the pirate leader demanded. "The computer," Rion said, voice strange and distant. "I can feel it. It's not broken. It's just sleeping. I can touch it. With my mind." Taemin remembered something Rion had told him weeks ago. Dragons built the first quantum engines. They were technological geniuses. But he had thought that was just history. He didn't know dragons could actually interface with machines. "Rion," Taemin said carefully, "can you wake up the defense system?" I don't know," the hatchling said. "I've never done this before. My parents could do it. All adult dragons could. But I'm too young, I'm not strong enough. The connection is there, but I can't push through. I'm too weak." The pirate leader laughed. "Nice try, little dragon. But we're not falling for—" He stopped talking as Rion's entire body began to glow. The hatchling was trying, straining with everything it had. The light grew brighter, and everyone could hear a strange humming sound in the air. But then the light flickered and died. Rion collapsed to the ground, breathing hard. "Not strong enough," the hatchling gasped. "I'm sorry, I tried. But I'm too small, too young. I haven't eaten enough. I'm not fully grown. I can feel the computer, but I can't control it. I'm sorry. The pirate leader smirked. Well, that was entertaining. Now let's finish this. Taemin knelt down next to Rian, protecting the exhausted hatchling with his own body. His mind was racing. Rian could interface with technology. The ability was real, but the hatchling was too weak from years of starvation. The body hadn't fully recovered yet. Then an idea hit him. A crazy, dangerous idea. Rian, Taemin said quickly, what if you had more power? What if something gave you energy? The hatchling looked up at him with confused eyes. What do you mean? Taemin was already running toward his workshop. The pirates shouted and started to follow, but Taemin was fast. He reached his workspace and grabbed something from a locked cabinet, his personal power core, the energy source for his small ship. It was dangerous to handle, filled with concentrated power. One wrong move and it could explode. But if Rian could somehow use that power... Taemin ran back out, holding the power core carefully. Rian, if I connect this to you, can you use the energy? Can it boost your abilities? The hatchling's eyes went wide. That's insane. It could kill me. The feedback could fry my nervous system. But it might work, Taemin pressed. Maybe, Rian admitted. I don't know. It's never been done before. The pirates were closing in again, weapons raised. Taemin looked at Rian, then at the power core in his hands, then at all the innocent people who would be robbed or killed if they did nothing. It's your choice, Taemin said to Rian. I won't force you, but if you want to try, I'll help you. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Rian looked at Taemin for a long moment. Then the hatchling's scales shifted to a determined gold color. Together, Rian said. Let's do it. Taemin didn't hesitate. He opened the power core's access panel and grabbed the main conduit. Then he pressed it against Rian's chest. Right where the dragon's heart was beating fast with fear and determination. Light exploded from the point of contact. Everyone screamed and covered their eyes. The humming sound became a roar. Rian's body lifted off the ground, floating in the air, surrounded by crackling energy. And somewhere deep in the spaceport's control systems, something ancient woke up. The energy from Taemin's power core flowed into Rian like lightning. The small dragon's body convulsed as raw power surged through veins designed to carry it. Scales that had been growing healthier now blazed with light, cycling through every color imaginable. The hatchling's eyes became pure white, glowing so bright that people had to look away. Taemin held on to the conduit with both hands, even though the feedback made his arms shake. He could feel the power core draining rapidly. It was designed to run his entire ship for months. Now it was emptying in seconds, all of its energy pouring into one small dragon. Rian! Taemin shouted over the roaring sound. Can you hear me? The hatchling's mouth opened, but the voice that came out sounded different, deeper, older, filled with power. I can hear everything. I can feel everything. The entire station, every computer, every circuit, every system, it's all connected, it's all alive, and I can touch it all. The pirates stood frozen, weapons forgotten. Their leader's confident expression had been replaced with fear. What is this? What's happening? Rian turned in the air to face them. The small dragon's body was still young and small, but the presence radiating from it was ancient and powerful. You made a mistake coming here. You threatened people under my protection. You tried to hurt my friend. That was a very bad decision. The pirate leader raised his weapon and fired. The energy bolt should have struck Rian directly. Instead, it stopped in midair, frozen, crackling with electricity. Then it simply disappeared. I am connected to every system on this station, Rian said, including the defense grid. All across the spaceport, weapon turrets that hadn't moved in years suddenly came to life. They turned with smooth precision, each one targeting a different pirate. Red targeting lasers painted dots on the criminals' chests. Stand down, Rion commanded. "Drop your weapons. Leave this place. If you do this now, I will let you live. If you do not, the defense grid will fire. You have 10 seconds to decide." The pirate leader looked at his crew, then at the turrets, then at the small dragon floating in the air with power radiating from its body. He was a criminal, but he wasn't suicidal. "Drop them," he ordered his crew. "Drop all weapons, now." Metal clattered on the ground as 20 pirates dropped their guns. They raised their hands in surrender. "Back to your ships," Rion said. "Leave this system. If you ever return, if you ever threaten these people again, I will know and I will find you." The pirates ran. They practically tripped over each other, rushing back to their ships. The hatches closed, engines fired, and within minutes all 3 pirate vessels were lifting off, fleeing into the sky. The workers at the spaceport stood in stunned silence. Then someone started clapping, then another person. Within seconds, everyone was cheering and applauding. But Tae-min wasn't cheering. He was watching Rion with growing concern. The power core in his hands was completely empty now, drained dry. The hatchling was still floating, still glowing, but something was wrong. The light was getting brighter, not dimmer. "Rion," Tae-min called out. "It's over. You can let go now. Come back." The hatchling turned to look at him. Those glowing white eyes showed no recognition. "The connection is so beautiful. I can feel every circuit, every processor. The whole station is like part of my body. I don't want to let go." "Rion, you have to," Tae-min said, trying to keep his voice calm despite his fear. "The power core is empty. You're burning through your own life force now. If you don't disconnect, it will kill you." "I can handle it," Rion said, but the voice was strained now. "Just a little longer. I want to make sure they're really gone." "They're gone," Tae-min said firmly. "You did it. You saved everyone. Now please come back to me." The hatchling's glow flickered. "Tae-min, I can't. I don't know how. The connection is too strong. It's pulling at me. I'm losing myself in it." Panic seized Tae-min's heart. He looked at Haywan. "The medical center! We need to get Rion to the medical center!" Haywan was already running. "I'll call the doctor! Hold on!" But Tae-min knew they didn't have time. Rion's body was starting to spasm. Smoke was rising from the scales. The hatchling was burning up from the inside. "Rion!" Tae-min said desperately. "Listen to my voice. Focus on me. Remember our first meeting. Remember when I shared my dinner with you. Remember all our conversations, all the work we did together. Remember breakfast this morning. Remember that you're not just a connection to a computer. You're a person. You're my friend. You're Rion." The white in the hatchling's eyes flickered. For just a moment, Tae-min saw gold shine through. "That's it," Tae-min encouraged. "Come back. Follow my voice. Remember who you are." "Tae-min," Rion's voice was weak now. "I'm scared. It hurts. Everything hurts." "I know," Tae-min said, tears running down his face. "I know it hurts. But you're strong. You've survived so much already. You lost your whole world, your whole family, and you kept going. You can survive this too. Just let go of the connection. Let go and come back to me." The hatchling's body slowly descended from the air. The glow began to fade. The connection was breaking, but not smoothly. It was like tearing apart 2 things that had been welded together. Rion screamed in pain. Tae-min ran forward and caught the falling dragon in his arms. The scales were hot, almost burning to touch, but he held on tight. "I've got you! I've got you!" The last of the light died away. Rion's eyes closed. The hatchling went completely limp in Tae-min's arms. "No!" Tae-min whispered. "No, no, no, stay with me. Please stay with me." He felt for a pulse, for breathing, for any sign of life. For a terrifying moment, there was nothing. Then he felt it. A weak heartbeat, shallow breathing. Rion was alive, but barely. The doctor arrived running, a small alien woman with medical equipment. "Bring the dragon inside, quickly!" They rushed Rion to the medical center. Tae-min refused to leave the hatchling's side even for a moment. The doctor worked frantically, hooking up monitors, administering medicines, checking vital signs. The internal damage is severe, the doctor said grimly. The nervous system is fried. The heart is weak. I don't know if... Save my friend, Taemin said, his voice breaking. Please, do whatever it takes. Use whatever resources you need. I'll pay any cost. Just please save Rion. The doctor looked at him with sympathetic eyes. I'll do everything I can. But you need to understand this dragon interfaced with systems that would kill most creatures instantly. The fact that Rion is still alive at all is a miracle. Then we need another miracle, Taemin said. He held Rion's small claw in his hand. Come on, little dragon, don't give up. You're a survivor. You've always been a survivor. Hours passed, then days. Rion remained unconscious, balanced on the edge between life and death. The doctor did everything possible, but ultimately, it was up to the hatchling's own body to heal. Taemin never left. He slept in a chair next to Rion's bed. He ate meals there. He talked to the unconscious dragon, telling stories, sharing memories, just filling the silence with his voice so Rian would know someone was there. Other workers visited. Haewon came every day bringing food and kind words. Even Dong-hyun showed up looking uncomfortable. I was wrong about the dragon, the big man said quietly. Rion saved all of us, saved our families, our livelihoods. I'm sorry for the things I said. Tell Rian when the hatchling wakes up, Taemin replied. Not if. When. Word of what happened spread across the colony. People started bringing gifts, food, blankets, small tokens of appreciation. A young girl left a hand-drawn picture showing a brave dragon protecting people from pirates. On the third day, Taemin was dozing in his chair when he felt movement. His eyes snapped open. Rion's claws were twitching. The hatchling's eyes fluttered. Doctor! Taemin shouted. The doctor rushed in just as Rion's eyes opened. They were gold again, tired and pained, but definitely gold. Taemin? The hatchling's voice was barely a whisper. I'm here, Taemin said, squeezing the small claw gently. I'm right here. Did we win? Taemin laughed through his tears. Yes, we won. The pirates are gone. Everyone is safe. You saved us all. Good, Rian said. Then the hatchling winced. Everything hurts. I know, Taemin said, but you're going to be okay. The doctor says you'll heal. It will take time, but you'll heal. Rion looked at him with those tired eyes. Your power core. I destroyed it, didn't I? Yes, Taemin admitted. It's completely drained, useless. Your ship. You can't leave now. You're stuck here because of me. I don't care, Taemin said firmly. Ships can be fixed or replaced. Friends can't. You're worth more than 1,000 ships. Tears welled up in Rion's eyes. I thought I was going to die. I felt myself slipping away. But I heard your voice. You called me back. Always, Taemin promised. I'll always call you back, no matter what. The hatchling managed a weak smile. We make a good team. The best team, Taemin agreed. The doctor cleared her throat. The patient needs rest, lots of rest. But the prognosis is good. With time and care, I believe Rion will make a full recovery. As the doctor left, Rion looked up at Taemin. What I did, connecting to the defense grid. I didn't know dragons could still do that. I thought that ability was lost when our elders died. Maybe it was never lost, Taemin said thoughtfully. Maybe it was just sleeping, waiting for the right moment, waiting for you. But I'm just a hatchling, Rion said. I'm nobody special. You're wrong, Taemin said gently. You're very special. You always have been. I saw it the first day we met, and now everyone else sees it too. Rion's scales shifted to a warm, happy color despite the pain. Thank you, Taemin, for everything, for the food, for the friendship, for believing in me when nobody else did. For saving my life just now by calling me back. You saved my life too, Taemin replied. in every way that matters. Outside the medical center, the sun was setting over Arcturus 7th. But something had changed on this dusty frontier colony. People had seen something impossible. They had witnessed a small dragon and a kind human perform a miracle together, and this was just the beginning of something much bigger. 2 weeks after the pirate attack, Rion was finally strong enough to leave the medical center. The hatchling moved slowly at first, wings still healing, but the sparkle was back in those golden eyes. Tae-min stayed close, ready to help if needed. "It's good to be outside again," Rion said, breathing in the fresh air. "I miss the sky." "Don't push yourself too hard," Tae-min cautioned. "The doctor said you need to take it easy." I know, Rion said with a smile. "You're worse than a worried parent." They walked together toward Tae-min's workshop, but something was different. People were staring, not with disgust or fear like before, with curiosity, with respect. Some even waved. A small child ran up to them, holding out the hand-drawn picture that had been left at the medical center. "Are you Rion? The dragon who saved everyone?" Rion looked surprised. Yes, that's me." "You're a hero," the child said, eyes shining with admiration. "Can I touch your scales, please?" Rion glanced at Tae-min, who nodded encouragingly. The hatchling lowered its head, and the child gently touched the shimmering scales. "Wow," the child whispered. "They're so pretty." "Thank you for saving my mommy and daddy." After the child ran off, Rion stood still, looking amazed. "That just happened. A child called me a hero." "Because you are," Tae-min said simply. More changes became apparent as days passed. The other workers at the spaceport treated Rion differently now. Dong-hyun actually apologized directly to the hatchling, something that clearly cost him a lot of pride. Hae-won made it official that Rion was an employee, with pay and everything. But the biggest changes came from outside Arcturus 7. One morning, a sleek government ship landed at the spaceport. Official representatives from the Galactic Council emerged, wearing formal robes and carrying important-looking documents. "We're looking for a dragon named Rion and a human named Tae-min," the lead representative announced. Tae-min felt nervousness grip his stomach. The Galactic Council was the most powerful organization in known space. What did they want? "That's us," he said carefully, stepping forward with Rion beside him. The representative looked at them both, then did something unexpected. She bowed. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you both. What you did here has attracted significant attention." "We just defended our home," Tae-min said. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," the representative said firmly. "Most would not. When those pirates attacked, they chose this colony specifically because they thought it was weak and defenseless. They didn't expect resistance. They certainly didn't expect a dragon to interface with a defense grid, an ability we thought was extinct." Rion shuffled uncomfortably. "I almost died doing it. I'm not sure it's something I can do again." The representative's expression softened. "Nevertheless, you did it. And more importantly, you proved something we all thought impossible. You proved that dragons still possess the ancient abilities their ancestors had. This changes everything." "What do you mean?" Tae-min asked. The representative pulled out a data pad and showed them something. It was a news article spreading across multiple planets. The headline read, "Young Dragon Saves Colony. Ancient Powers Awakened Through Human Kindness." "The story has gone viral," the representative explained. "Everyone in the galaxy is talking about you two, about how a human mechanic showed compassion to a starving dragon hatchling, about how that kindness led to friendship, about how that friendship saved hundreds of lives and revealed abilities we thought were lost forever." Rion's scales shifted through multiple colors, showing confusion and embarrassment. "I don't understand. What does this have to do with the Galactic Council?" The representative smiled. Everything. You see, after the dragon homeworld was destroyed, we made assumptions. We assumed dragons had lost their technological abilities along with their civilization. We assumed they were just refugees who needed basic charity. We were wrong. The abilities weren't lost. They were just dormant, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. She looked directly at Taemin. And you, human, provided those conditions. You saw a person in need and helped without expecting anything in return. You provided food, friendship, and most importantly, belief. You treated Rion with dignity and respect. You stood up against prejudice. And when the moment came, you were willing to sacrifice your own property, even your own life, to help your friend. Taemin felt his face getting hot. I just did what was right. Exactly, the representative said. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Humans, your species, have a reputation across the galaxy. You're known for your compassion, your willingness to help others, your stubborn refusal to give up on those you care about. But this story takes it to another level. She turned to address everyone who had gathered around to listen. We've received reports from across the galaxy. Dozens of dragons hiding in the shadows of various worlds have come forward after hearing about Rion. They want to know if this is real. They want to know if they too might still have their ancestral abilities. And do they? Rion asked quietly. We don't know yet, the representative admitted, but we want to find out. The Galactic Council is establishing a program. We're calling it the Dragon Renewal Initiative. We want to find these hidden dragons, provide them with resources and support, and help them rediscover their heritage. HFY stepped forward. What does this have to do with Arcturus 7th? The representative smiled. The Council wants to establish the first Dragon Renewal Center here on this colony, where it all began, where a simple act of human kindness sparked a revolution. Murmurs of excitement rippled through the crowd. A Dragon Renewal Center would bring jobs, resources, attention. This poor frontier colony could become important. And, the representative continued, looking at Taemin and Rion, we want you two to run it, together, as partners, as proof that cooperation between species can achieve miracles. Taemin looked at Rion. The hatchling looked back at him. They had a silent conversation with just their eyes. We'll need to think about it, Taemin said finally. The representative nodded. Of course, take your time, but please understand you've already changed the galaxy whether you intended to or not. Dragons across space are hoping again for the first time in years. And humans, well, your species' reputation has gone from kind to legendary in certain circles. After the representatives left, promising to return in a few days for an answer, Taemin and Rion sat together in the workshop. The same workshop where they'd first shared a meal weeks ago. This is crazy, Rion said. How did we get here? One day at a time, Taemin replied. One choice at a time. I chose to share my dinner. You chose to trust me. We chose to help each other. And now they want us to help the entire dragon species, Rion said. That's a lot of responsibility. It is, Taemin agreed. Are you scared? Terrified, Rion admitted, but also excited. My parents would have loved this. They always dreamed of dragons being strong again, being respected again. What do you want to do? Taemin asked. Rion thought about it for a long moment. I want to help. I want other dragons to have what I have. A home, a friend, hope. But I can't do it alone. You won't have to, Taemin said. We're a team, remember? The best team. Over the next few weeks, more dragons began arriving at Arcturus 7th. They came cautiously at first, afraid of disappointment. But when they saw Rion, healthy and happy and respected, something changed in them. They saw possibility. Not all of them had Rion's technological abilities. Some did, some didn't, but all of them had something valuable to offer: art, knowledge, skills, perspectives. Dragons, it turned out, were incredible when given the chance to thrive instead of just survive. Taman found himself working alongside not just Rion, but dozens of dragons. They helped him establish the Renewal Center. They taught classes about dragon history and culture. They worked with human engineers to rediscover old technologies. They created beautiful art that honored their lost homeworld while celebrating their new beginning. And slowly, the galaxy's perception of dragons changed. They weren't pests or beggars anymore. They were people, valuable, talented, worthy of respect and dignity. More humans got involved too. Inspired by Taman's example, humans across multiple worlds began reaching out to dragon communities, offering help and friendship. Some dragons discovered their abilities could be awakened with proper nutrition and encouragement. Others found different ways to contribute. 6 months after the pirate attack, the Galactic Council held a ceremony. They officially declared Arcturus 7th as the Dragon Renewal Center headquarters. They also announced something else. "We are establishing a new position," the council leader announced to the gathered crowd. "The position of Dragon-Human Relations Ambassador. This person will work to ensure cooperation between our species, to prevent prejudice, and to help dragons integrate fully into galactic society." The council leader looked directly at Taman. "And we can think of no one better for this position than the human who started it all. Taman, will you accept?" Taman looked at Rion, who was grinning with pride. He looked at Haiwan, who was giving him an encouraging thumbs up. He looked at all the dragons who had found hope again, and all the humans who had learned to see beyond prejudice. "I accept," Taman said, "on one condition. Rion has to be my partner in this. Official co-ambassador. Nothing I've done would have been possible without the hatchling. We're a team." The council leader smiled. "Agreed. Co-ambassadors it is." The crowd erupted in cheers. Dragons and humans celebrated together, a sight that would have been impossible just months ago. Later that evening, Taman and Rion sat on top of Taman's workshop, watching the stars come out. Rion was bigger now, growing steadily with proper food and care. The hatchling's wings were fully healed, strong enough for long flights. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't shared your dinner that first night?" Rion asked. "Sometimes," Taman admitted. "But then I remember something. I think it was always going to happen. Maybe not with me, specifically, but with someone. Some human who would see a dragon in need and choose kindness over indifference." "Why do you think humans are like that?" Rion asked curiously. Taman thought about it. "I don't know if all humans are, but a lot of us. We believe in second chances. We believe in hope. We believe that things can get better if we work at it. And we believe that everyone deserves kindness, no matter who they are or where they come from." "That's a beautiful way to live," Rion said softly. "It's the only way to live," Taman replied. "At least, it's the only way I want to live." They sat in comfortable silence, watching ships come and go from the spaceport. Dragons and humans worked side by side below, building something new together. "Thank you," Rion said suddenly, "for everything. For seeing me when I was invisible. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. For being my friend when I was alone. You saved my life in every way that matters." Taman put his arm around the young dragon's shoulders. "You saved mine too. You taught me that kindness isn't weakness. That compassion can change the world. That one person can make a difference if they just choose to care." Rion leaned against Taman, scales warm and content. "We're going to help so many dragons. We're going to change the galaxy." "Yes," Taman agreed. "Together." always together. Far above them, the stars shone bright, and somewhere among those stars, on planets scattered across the galaxy, other dragons were looking up at the same sky with new hope in their hearts, because they had heard the story of a destitute dragon hatchling who asked for leftover food, and a human mechanic who couldn't believe what happened next. It was a story about kindness, about friendship, about the power of seeing worth in those others had dismissed, about humans who refused to give up on the forgotten and dragons who refused to give up on themselves. It was a story that would be told for generations, a story that proved what many already suspected. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons or their ships. It was their hearts, their willingness to help, their stubborn, beautiful, foolish compassion that said every life has value, every person deserves a chance, and no one should be left behind. And it all started with one meal shared between a tired mechanic and a starving hatchling on a dusty spaceport at the edge of known space. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest ripples. Sometimes, one person choosing to care can change everything. And sometimes, when you help someone in need, you end up saving not just them, but yourself too. This was that kind of story. And it was just the beginning.